And not for everybody, but I also think that there's a very strong percentage of faculty that don't see it, don't want to see it. Because if I see it, then I'm going to have to do something about it, and I don't know what to do about it, so it's best if I don't see it. And and it's just a total avoidant behavior. And it's also, I think, which we see a lot at Safe Zone, is that people think that they have to be experts at it in order to be able to talk about it. And this, for me, is about human relationship. And you have to know how to form relationships with people. And you have to see people as human beings first before any other labels are put on them. And that label, I think, immediately just freezes people. And just like, oh God, I don't know how to deal with this. We've certainly never grown up talking about it. You know, I don't know what to do. And then it's so comfortable for people to say, I don't want to make a mistake, so I'll just not say anything because I don't want to offend. You know, and that really is a cop-out. You know, any other issues if I mean, if a kid was bleeding on the playground, you'd attend to that. It's necessary to do that. Or if in reading, if a kid was stumbling over a word, you'd help them learn how to sound out the word. You know, you would involve yourself with them in a relationship. But then the slurs come, or something that has to do with gay issues, and it's like, we'll just ignore it. You know, and we know what ignoring things do.
Policies are very important, and there has to be sort of a code of conduct, code of ethics for the university itself. We have a particular sort of assumed group of community standards at our university that tell people that discrimination based on, and there's a list, is not welcome, is not accepted, will not be tolerated. What happens next, though, is when that filters down to your everyday life. What happens at the food court at the university when one of the checkout people, one of the cashiers, makes a disparaging remark? Are they covered under that same, university policy? And if students are expecting their professors to tolerate them, how far does that spread out in terms of tolerance in the community? And I know a lot of students will say the minute they set foot off campus, and we're in an area that outside the university town may not be particularly welcoming or affirming, may not be very tolerant. The minute they go to another town, they may have to downplay their behavior. They may have to downplay necessarily their dress sometimes if they know they're going to a place where they may be looked at differently.
There's a kind of a repertoire of phrases that are very natural for kids to use. Cool is something that's cool, that's really cool, that's awesome. Things that we say without thinking, that's my generation. I believe what I hear most frequently is, but that's so gay. Deconstructing, unpacking, that's so gay. Students understand that gay has a connotation to it, and I truly believe that when most students use it, they're not using it what they believe is in a pejorative way. It's just a phrase they've adopted. Having a sense that the word can be harmful or hateful toward a group of people is a connection that I think has to consciously be made. So bringing that into the students' awareness is the first step, but then actually having them be responsible for their language is important. And with the immediacy of language, with the immediacy of texting, of tweeting, of speaking, I think we are more likely to value our, the thinking that goes into communicating well. I think we value that less because we value speed and immediacy. Just because the environment is there, just because you get the page, just because you get the message doesn't mean you need to respond to it immediately. And having students participate in the here and the now and kind of being aware of the potential for what they have to do in the here and now, and understanding that they don't have to respond to everything else that's out there. I hope gives them a chance to kind of pause and bracket and say, what is it that I'm really saying? And I think we're losing that. I think we're losing that in our social media environments because we're participating on so many levels so rapidly that I think we're less inclined to really think about what it is that we're actually saying or the consequence of what we're saying.
To follow up on what you were saying about the classroom environment, if a child has come in from the playground where there's been name calling or whatever, how is that child going to be able to focus on the lesson while there's a scar forming inside from things that he or she has heard that were said? And that's going to be what their brain is focused on when the math lesson is going on. So every student deserves a safe environment in which to learn.
And I think classroom management has gotten us to the point where we set up these rules that, kids coming back from the playground, a class teacher with small kids could hear nothing but tattling for the next 20 minutes about everything that went on. So the rule is, when you come in from recess, you don't tattle. Okay, so then a kid comes in and wants to really tell you about they were thrown down to the ground, but you say, sorry, there is the rule, because you got really good classroom management, you need to get really into the subject. And then taking it from the child's standpoint is that child needs to tell you something for some reason. That it mattered. Whatever happened in that playground mattered to that child. But you have just said the rule is much more important than what you are. And so where do you then find something in your classroom that we attend to these things, that we deal with the fact that children's feelings matter? Or how do you say, I know this situation sounded like it was really something that was very difficult for you, and I really want to get to this, and we'll talk about this and figure out a place where you can contain it or talk about it. But identify that it matters to them. And there might have been huge bashing that went on that you never knew about. And you might say, well, I don't really want to know about it. That's why I don't go out on the playground. You want to know what's going on in your school, you do playground and lunch duty, and you really do find out what's going on in the school. You want to know as an administration of a university what's going on. You get out of your office and you walk around and you see it. But that takes, I don't know. That's harder. It's easier not to know.
Everybody is an individual. Everybody is who they are, and it's who they are as a whole person. It's not their sexuality. It's not the color of their skin. It's not their socioeconomic status. It's, have you gotten to know them, and do you know how to support them? And I think all kids need supporting. All students, all people. I don't have a cutoff for the age there. Okay, we can just, I can support my colleagues. I can support my students. I can support my own children, and whatever decisions they're making. And so if we can just listen and know who they are before we, as we're trying to figure out how to be the best teachers we can be.